Hey guys, this is Jay, welcome to the channel. This is the new 2024 or 2025 Haval Jolion Hybrid. There's quite a lot of new changes, although there are quite some identical things. First thing, let's look at the outside. This is going to be very different from the previous Haval Jolion Hybrid. Alright, this is how the car looks like. So from the side, looks very different. It's got a lot of black wheel arch paddings. Look at the rear, totally different rear design as well. Big spoiler on the top. And up here, we have very different things again. Black door covers, black wind mirror covers, black door sills over here. 18-inch alloys are available on this top spec. And here we have a new look front again. In case you don't know, the previous Haval Jolion is named Jolion or Jolion in Chinese version, where this Jolion Hybrid is actually named as Chutu in China. So a very different branding in terms of the design and all that things. From what I can see, the design on this newer version looks a lot more sportier, a lot more rugged feel compared to the previous generation. The sloping lines are a little bit more sharper. It's not as square as the previous generation. Still get these two level finish on the headlights. They are very different from the previous version. And also the grille feels a little bit more sleek, but not as chunky as the previous generation. And spoiler at the front underneath looks really cool. Overall, the design language is definitely going to be very different from the previous generation. Let me know what you think. Do you like this sort of look? At the back, first thing you probably will notice is the top spoiler over here. It's very chunky. It's very different as well. There are actually gap in between. Compared to the last generation, that's just a standard sloping roofline. We got the Jolion Pro name on this, but this is actually named as the Ultra in New Zealand version. Running through tail lights, which is all going to be a little bit different from the previous generation again. First thing, let's look at the boot space. This is unfortunately being reduced from the previous generation. This is rated at 255 liters according to the Haval brochure, but I would say this is more close to a 300 liters for the boot size. It still feels a little bit smaller compared to the previous generation. The reason behind it is this sloping roofline. The previous generation has a little bit more cut onto it, and also the boot floor is quite high because this is the hybrid version. Underneath, there is no additional storage. This is just your mobility kit plus your battery underneath. Anyway, it's a little bit smaller compared to the previous generation. Compared to the petrol version, this is also smaller as well. Other things from the dimension, the vehicle length is actually only 2 millimeters shorter compared to the previous Haval Jolion Hybrid, which is totally fine. The width is actually a little bit more on this. This has about 14 millimeters wider than the previous generation. You do not feel it inside the vehicle, to be fair. The wheelbase stays exactly the same as the previous generation, which will help with the legroom at the back. Another thing is the height. It's a little bit taller, about 20 to 40 millimeters taller compared to the last Haval Jolion Hybrid. Next is the rear seats. Opening the door, they're very wide, nearly 90 degrees opening. The seat material is the same as the previous generation. Stepping inside, this is my sitting position at about 178 centimeters tall. I've got really good amount of legroom, nice foot space, and headroom is good as well. I'm not touching this roof, even with the panoramic sunroof available on this higher spec. Center armrest, nice and soft and squeegee. 2 USB-A charging plus air vents are also available. Small pockets on each side. So rear seats is definitely a really good advantage for this particular vehicle compared to many competitors on the market. The finish on the door side is also soft finish plus plastic and some trim over here. Closing the door, that's pretty solid. Sounds nice. That's a good thing. At the front, same thing, electric adjustment seats on this top spec, Ultra, and the material is just like the last generation. Electric buttons are over here. There's still no lumbar support. Step inside, We have a nice leather wrapped steering, just like the last generation. All the buttons, all the controls are identical. You get the screen over here, digital dashboard. In addition to the last generation, the steering can now be tilted up and down, also telescope in and out. That's actually really good. On last generation, you can only go up and down. Head-up display is also available on this top trim, plus the big tablet screen over here. This is rated to be 12.3 inch, where if you go to the lower spec Premium or the petrol version, that's 10.25 inch. Overall, the design and the features are pretty easy to use. There are very good amount of features that you can personalize all the things from the driver, from the settings, from the personalization. Couple things they added to the newer version of this top spec, only available on the top spec as well. One is the ambient lighting. In the ambient lighting, you are able to change your different colors and all that things. So that looks really cool for the interior. That's nice. Another thing they added is the self-parking or auto parking assist. So that means the vehicle can see the lanes, can see the parking space, and help you to park into the parking guidance. So those are the couple features they added to the top spec. Where on the standard versions, there's not much change in for the interior features. The center console is still the same, nice sort of coated leather finish, plus white stitchings, wireless phone charging again on the top spec, electronic gear shifters and some storage, center control, and cup holders, small and big, large center console, plus decent size storage box over there. So overall, the comfort and confident finish still is like the last generation Haval. Alright, let's get it on the road to give it a drive. First thing you'll notice, the indicator sound is very loud, just like the last generation. But that's also thanks to the vehicle being reasonably quiet overall. Let's kick some numbers first. The vehicle is still powered by a 1.5 liter petrol motor combined with the electric motor at the back. Combined power on this vehicle is 140 kilowatts and 375 newton meters. The last generation is 139 kilowatts. So that's the small difference you get from the old to new. In case you want to know why, Haval actually made the electric motor at the back a little bit more stronger. So the electric motor used to be rated at 110 kilowatts, where the new one is rated at 115 kilowatts. That's what makes the difference. But overall, the driving part is identical. It still comes with a particular hybrid transmission. Haval call it DHT. Overall, the performance felt relatively strong. It's got good amount of torque when you put the foot down. Another thing that changes is on the suspension side. It used to be McPherson at the front, torsion beam at the back, where on this new one, it's now McPherson at the front and then multi-link suspension at the back. That allows the vehicle to have a better handling overall. And this is how the acceleration like under the normal mode. That's certainly not bad at all. And riding on this surface, the comfort is still identical compared to the last generation. For a compact to medium-sized SUV like this is very, very comfortable. Alright, now we're on sport mode. Let's give it a go just to see how the acceleration is like. Not bad at all. That's very smooth acceleration. You can feel the motor at the front. Of course, because we're doing a stand start, it's not really a launch control or anything like that. At any time, if you do wish to go a little bit heavier on the pedal, this is what it looks like from a rolling start. Let's slow it down to 40 and give it a go. that acceleration is much better compared to the last one we had, for sure. The only small annoying thing to change the driving mode on this vehicle, it's a little bit tricky. You have to swipe the screen all the way from the left, allow you to adjust eco, sport, snow, and normal, all that things. So right now we're driving sport, and in case you want to change the steering feels, you can do that as well. It's under the vehicle setting, and there will be a vehicle driver setting. Under the driver, you can adjust it to comfort, light, and sport. Let's go to sport just to see how it's like on the cornering. And you can, as soon as you go to sport, you can feel the steering gets stiffer, and it's certainly a lot stronger support on the steering. There we go, that acceleration isn't bad at all. The motor noise isn't that satisfying though, but it does the job okay, I suppose. Let's do another one, rolling start from around 40 again. 1, 2, 3. This time it has a lot more push. That's pretty good, and the sport mode. On this rough seal surface in the New Zealand country road, the suspension felt still reasonable. It is a little bit stiffer compared to the last generation. You can feel it because the multi-link that help with a little bit more traction and handling. But that's not a bad thing, especially for New Zealand and Australian road. To drive something in these conditions, we definitely want a stronger and stiffer suspension overall. Comfort is normal or standard on this vehicle, but I'll say that's a good improvement from the suspension point of view. And when we go through these corners, you can tell that as well. There we go. It's very confident. It's not that sharp compared to any sports cars, but it does the job very well. That's the part I find the biggest change on this new one versus the old one, is a little bit better on the handling. It kind of stays on the road. Yeah, it's not wobbly around corners. Not saying the previous generation isn't that bad at all, but this has a small amount of improvement, and you can feel it, and it's relatively satisfying. And anytime if you want the power, you just put your foot down just like that. It's got the power. There's no shy of a power due to the electric motor helping the transmission, helping the power overall, because we're sport mode, the acceleration is really smooth, and it's very good acceleration as well. What a nice straight line. Let's slow it a little bit down from 30 to a rolling start. 1, 2, 3. Pretty good. Certainly very satisfying overall in terms of acceleration. The noise level on these country roads are totally acceptable. They are not as premium as the Haval H6, as you can expect. This is pretty standard for a small to medium-sized SUV like this particular size. I think the build quality around the doors, around the windows and all the things are really solid. And right on these country lines, again, I like the steering feels. It's only front wheel drive, and it's not that sporty, but it's supportive. You don't feel much of an understeer at all. And you can push these pretty good around these corners. just like that. It's done, not bad, it's done the job. And I think I should point it out is the visibility. On the side mirror they are large, the front windscreen is large as well, but the rear windscreen is small. That's another difference from this generation to the last generation Haval Jolion Hybrid. The last generation felt a lot more square-ish for the rear windscreen, where this one is quite limited. Especially when you sit anyone at the back for who is more than, let's say, 6 foot tall, you pretty much get no rear visibility at all from the rear windscreen. So yeah, that's the sacrifice you will have when you have a nice sloping roofline, nice sort of shape with the rear design. Shall we do another acceleration and call this the end of this video? Let's give it a go. Now this time let's do from 20. There's no one behind me, we are pretty safe on this road. 1, 2, 3. Not bad at all. I think that's totally acceptable for the size of this vehicle. It is certainly faster than many hybrids you can find within this price range, and that's not a bad thing at all. Since we are slowing down, let's call this as the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the contents. Just my first impression on the new Haval Jolion Hybrid. If you like this content and if you like this channel, do not forget to subscribe and like. That would be really helpful. Take care, and I will see you next video.